Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel to a new video. In today's video, I'm sharing with you guys how I take aesthetic and effective notes for school. I hope you guys find my tips helpful, and let's just go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start off this video by sharing examples of my notes, and there are a couple reasons for this. Firstly, more obvious, which is I want you guys to get an overview and general look of how my notes look like visually, so you can decide if you don't like how it looks. You don't have to keep watching, and I don't want to waste your time. But that's kind of beside the point. Anyways, second off, I want to share and express the idea that none of my handwriting is the same for every single one of my classes, and my note-taking style definitely differs, specifically aesthetic-wise throughout my classes, although the system I apply is the same. And just before I let you guys enjoy the rest of the flip through, I also want to leave out a disclaimer kind of thing. I've never done this kind of thing in my past videos, but I thought I would do it to be safe. Basically, I want to say that you don't need your notes to be pretty or aesthetic as long as you retain the information and you write down everything you need. I think that's beyond enough. This is just something I like to do, it's something I enjoy doing, and it generally helps me out, especially the colors, the diagrams, and the post-it notes. And once again, I'm just here to share really what worked for me, and hopefully it'll help you guys out. And you guessed it, we're talking about the pens. Now, that's the first thing in the entire process, but I'm not suggesting that you should go out and buy $100 worth of StudyGram popular pens, but rather I'm saying that you should find a pen that works for you, whether that's a ballpoint pen or gel pen. Just find something that suits your needs and writes smooth. Now I'm more or less just going to share some of my essentials for note-taking. My favorite black pen is the Zebra Sarasa in 0.5. To pair with that, I like a colored pen just for the little accents and details in my notes. For this one, I also choose the same brand and same type, except it is part of their pastel colored collection. And I prefer Zebra pens over other brands because their grip is really good, as well as the ink doesn't smudge as much. With that, I also try to use a same colored brush pen as well as highlighter. On the note of that, I just want to mention how great the Zebra brush mild liners are because they're definitely making my color pairing game so much easier. Again, as I always say, I find them very functional as they come in dual tipped with a chisel tip or brush pen now, and also a very thin side. And now we're on to the tips and setting up of the pages. So either at the top left or right corner, I like to write down my name, the date that the lesson is covered, as well as class optionally if it is not already in a notebook. Then on the very top of the page, I put down my title, usually in a fancy font. This is not specifically because I'm intentionally making it aesthetic, but rather it makes the title stand out. And now I'm just going to show you different variations that I like to use. Some are a lot simpler to apply than others if you are a beginner. I'm not going to go into an explanation as to how I write each of them because it seems visually pretty self-explanatory. Moving on to the subheadings. For my subheadings, I just like to write it in normal font in the black pen that I'm using, and then underline it as well as highlight it with the corresponding color. I don't try to make my subheadings really extra in quotations just because I'm in the middle of taking notes, and I'm not going to pull out a bunch of supplies just to make that look pretty. And to restate, I'm not specifically using these colors and fonts to make them aesthetic, but rather to make things stand out from the actual context of the notes. And this is now where we get into the actual note-taking symbols and bullets that I use. I hope you can actually tell that my note-taking system is very, very simple. I try not to make it anywhere near complex. So all of these bullet points come after a subheading, and to summarize, I only have two symbols. Any information that fits under the previous subheading is basically written with a dot. And then I have the dash because sometimes a dot is not enough to explain the theory, or almost like if I wrote the entire sentence or all the details with that dot, the sentence would be longer than what it was written in the textbook. So the dash is for any further detail of the previous dot point. And by limiting myself to just those two symbols, it definitely already cuts down the amount of details or excessive details that I'm putting in my notes. As you can see here in my physics notes, I have one dot for a more general point and then followed by quite a couple dashes to explain so. And now for the very last couple things I choose to do sometimes when I have time. I like to make my graphs very colorful and stand out from the rest of the notes because as a visual learner, I definitely find that quite helpful. Additionally, I like adding boxes or an outline on specific formulas as well as important information. And lastly, I use post-it notes to either draw attention to specific examples, formulas, abbreviations, or really when I just run out of space. On to the final part of the video, which I honestly think is going to be the most useful and applicable for you guys, and that is an attachment of my actual notes in comparison to the textbook. You can clearly see how I apply specific symbols I've mentioned before, as well as abbreviations within text, and how I really shrink down the content to almost half of the size. And so on the left of the screen is the screenshot I took from the textbook, and on the right is obviously my notes. To clarify, I didn't have a title for this, so limitation on cell size is actually a subheading, which is followed by all the content in point form. And hopefully by sharing a side-by-side comparison between my notes and the textbook will serve more purpose than just me going over all the tips I follow. That's really about it for this video. I think all the things I've said were quite similar to my previous videos. Hopefully I was more clear at conveying the ideas that I was trying to convey, specifically by the example I gave. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and check out more of my content. And all of my social media will be in the description. I will see you guys next time.